You are learning dependent co-arising today. Yes. Anyway, let's do a little reading first. And in the meantime, you have the charts and we will figure it out. You'll need to take time for this work. So this is a reading from the Samyutta Nikaya, again, the connected discourses of the Buddha, or also called linked discourses of the Buddha. So these are the connected discourses on causation, Nidana. This chapter is called the Buddhas. Dependent origination is the sub-topic. Thus have I heard, on one occasion the Blessed One was dwelling at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. There the Blessed One addressed the bhikkhus thus, Bhikkhus, Venerable Sir, those bhikkhus replied. The Blessed One said this, Bhikkhus, I will teach you dependent origination. Listen to that and attend closely. I will speak. Yes, Venerable Sir, those monks replied. The Blessed One said this, and what bhikkhus is dependent origination? With ignorance as condition, volitional formations come to be. With volitional formations as condition, consciousness comes to be. With consciousness as condition, name and form comes to be. With name and form as condition, the sixth sense basis comes to be. With the sixth sense basis as condition, contact comes to be. With contact as condition, feeling comes to be. With feeling as condition, craving comes to be. With craving as condition, clinging comes to be. With clinging as condition, existence. With existence as condition, birth. With birth as condition, aging and death. Sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair come to be. Such is the origin of this whole mass of suffering. This, bhikkhus, is called dependent origination. But with the remainderless fading away and cessation of ignorance comes cessation of volitional formations. With the cessation of volitional formations, cessation of consciousness. With the cessation of consciousness, cessation of name and form. With the cessation of name and form, cessation of six sense bases. With the cessation of the six sense bases, cessation of contact. With the cessation of contact, cessation of feeling. With the cessation of feeling, cessation of craving. With the cessation of craving, cessation of clinging. With the cessation of clinging, cessation of existence. With the cessation of existence, cessation of birth. With the cessation of birth, aging and death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair cease. Such is the cessation of this whole mass of suffering. That is what the Blessed One said. Elated, those bhikkhus delighted in the Blessed One's statement. So there is then the analysis of dependent origination. At Savatthi, bhikkhus, I will teach you dependent origination and I will analyze it for you. Listen to it, listen to that and attend closely. I will speak. Yes, Venerable Sir, those monks replied. The Blessed One said this, and what bhikkhus is dependent origination? With ignorance as condition, volitional formations comes to be. And then all 12 given here. Such is the origin of this whole mass of suffering. And then he's asking questions about each link. What bhikkhus is aging and death? The aging of the various beings in the various orders of beings, their growing old, brokenness of teeth, greyness of hair, wrinkling of skin, decline of vitality, degeneration of the faculties. This is called aging. The passing away of the various beings from the various orders of beings, their perishing, breakup, disappearance, mortality, death, completion of time, the breakup of the aggregates, the laying down of the carcass. This is called death. Thus, this aging and this death are together called aging and death. And what bhikkhus is birth? The birth of the various beings into the various orders of beings. They are being born, descent into the womb, production, the manifestation of the aggregates, the obtaining of the sense bases. This is called birth. And what bhikkhus is existence? There are these three kinds of existence: sense sphere existence, form sphere existence, formless sphere existence. This is called existence. So, Kama Bhava, Rupa Bhava, Arupa Bhava. The Kama Bhava is called sense sphere existence. Form sphere is the Rupa Bhava. And Arupa Bhava is the formless sphere existence. So form sphere is to do with the jhanas and formless with the arupas, because there is no rupa. What bhikkhus is clinging? There are these four kinds of clinging. Clinging to sensual pleasures, clinging to views, clinging to rules and vows, clinging to a doctrine of self. This is called clinging. So, sensual pleasures, views, and then rules and vows, clinging to those, and then clinging to the self. These are called four types of clinging, upadanas. What bhikkhus is craving? There are these 6 classes of craving. Craving for forms. See, you have to analyze in your mind if there is any craving, any trace of craving left in as to any kind of form in the work you do in meditation, at some point in your meditation or after. Craving for sounds, craving for color, odors, craving for tastes, craving for tactile objects, craving for mental phenomena. This is called craving. And what bhikkhus is feeling? There are these 6 classes of feeling. Feeling born of eye contact, feeling born of ear contact, feeling born of nose contact, feeling born of tongue contact, feeling born of body contact, feeling born of mind contact. This is called feeling. And what bhikkhus is contact? There are these 6 classes of contact: eye contact, ear contact, nose contact, tongue contact, body contact, mind contact. This is called contact. And what bhikkhus are the 6 sense bases? The eye base, the ear base, the nose base, the tongue base, the body base, the mind base. These are called the 6 sense bases. And what bhikkhus is name and form? Feeling, perception, volition, contact, attention. This is called name. Say that again. Feeling, perception, volition, contact, attention. So, Vedana, Sanya, Chetana, Passa, Manasikara. This is called name. And the 4 great elements and the form derived from the 4 great elements, this is called form. In other words, it's the body. That is the form. Thus, this name, this form are together called name and form. Mentality needs materiality, materiality needs mentality. And what bhikkhus is consciousness? There are these 6 classes of consciousness: eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, mind consciousness. This is called consciousness. And what bhikkhus are the volitional formations? There are these 3 kinds of volitional formations: the bodily volitional formation, the verbal volitional formation, the mental volitional formation. These are the volitional formations. And what bhikkhus is ignorance, not knowing suffering, not knowing the origin of suffering, not knowing the cessation of suffering, not knowing the way leading to the cessation of suffering. This is called ignorance. So, not knowing the noble truths, all four of them, this is called ignorance, not knowing. Thus, bhikkhus with ignorance as condition, volitional formations comes to be. So it goes on like that with all, you can see, ignorance, formations, consciousness, mentality, materiality, sixfold base, contact, feeling, craving, clinging, habitual tendencies, birth, aging and death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair. The whole 12 links of the arising origination of the links here. On that side, on the other side is this is the transcendental dependent origination, going further up to transcending these to faith, gladness, joy, tranquility, happiness, collectedness, knowledge and vision, disenchantment, dispassion, liberation, destruction of the taints, ultimately. This is based on the Upanishad Sutta. So, one way to this is a good place to go to. There is a section called Origination. Bhikkhus, before my enlightenment, while I was still a bodhisattva, not yet fully enlightened, it occurred to me, alas, this world has fallen into trouble, in that it is born, ages, and dies. It passes away and is reborn, yet it does not understand the escape from this suffering, headed by aging and death. When now will an escape be discerned from this suffering, headed by aging and death? Then, bhikkhus, it occurred to me, when what exists does aging and death comes to be? By what is aging and death conditioned? Then, bhikkhus, through careful attention, there took place in me a breakthrough by wisdom. When there is birth, aging and death comes to be. Aging and death has birth as its condition. So, in this, this is that Upanishad section. And you see birth in the Buddhist suttas. There are these 4 types of birth. One is birth that happens from eggs, andaja. Then jalabhuja, that is the womb-based birth. And sansedaja, that is moisture-based birth. And opapatika, that is the spontaneous appearance, like heavenly beings being born. Those are the 4 ways birth has happened and will happen and is happening in this world. So those, when he understood those things, he was like going backward. What is the cause behind this? Why do we grieve? Why do we have this problem? Why do we have sorrow, lamentation, despair? So he then came to like just being born into a world like this. And that then he asked himself, like, what comes, like, why are we born? So then he went on asking these questions, and there he found that we have different forms of existences, like existing in the sensual plane, existing in immaterial plane, existing in the formless, like form plane, like jhana planes, and then the formless planes. So when he asked what is the cause behind that existence, he found out that, clinging to those existences, clinging to 5 aggregates, this is why there is existence in some habitual forms. And what's the cause behind clinging? He then found out that there is craving the cause behind clinging. And then he asked what conditions craving? And feelings of 3 kinds of feelings: pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. What is behind these feelings? What conditions these feelings? He understood there is contact. What is behind the contact? The 6 classes, 6 sense faculties. So 6 sense faculties, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. And what is behind, what conditions them is mentality and materiality, interaction of nama and rupa, mentality and materiality, that naming and form. So what conditions that is the consciousness. And what conditions that is the formations. And what conditions for volitional formations is ignorance, not knowing. So this is when the links are figured out and organized. Not knowing has been placed in the very beginning, because it is to show that it somehow start there, because not knowing the truth and knowing the truth are two different, they have 2 different effects on us. So you can also break it down at the place where you experience eye contact, ear contact, nose contact, tongue contact, body contact, and mind contact. And then you can experience, there is pleasant, unpleasant, neutral feelings. And then you can experience craving toward pleasant feelings, disliking unpleasant ones, and being ignorant of the neutral ones, that we think that there is a person existing there. So here you see those links working within our own experience with the world. That is how, but if you try to break it down there, that's an act of ignorance. That's an act of craving. That's not how you do it. It's by complete understanding of all the links. Then the truth be revealed to you. Wherever there is any trace of ignorance, you will work on that and you will let go. And then you will realize that wherever there is work, I have done that work, and there is nothing more to be done. So in your sittings, you will expect Nibbana to arise. That won't happen. It's in day-to-day life and in those meditations, in using your wisdom, in applying that wisdom in the 5 clinging aggregates until there is only aggregates left and no clinging left. There you see, I'm closer to relief, I'm closer to relief here, I'm closer to relief there. And eventually there is nothing more to be done. That's why we cultivate precepts, we cultivate the 7 factors of awakening, sublime states, and also cultivate wisdom and stillness, so that we have the space here in ourselves to analyze and see it before we no longer have any time, before we are gone. So it's a process, it's a work of realization. You can have cessation experiences through meditation. You can enter Nirodha Samapatti as a cessation experience. But the work of letting go is to be done with a strong level of mindfulness, cultivating dispassion, letting go, and looking for any place where there is any remaining traces of sensual desire, aversion, or ignorance left, and working. That is going to be your teacher. That is where you are going to work. That is your work field. So you yourself know what should be done and what you have accomplished. already. That's how we look at this whole Dhamma in general, and using dependent origination will be very useful that way. Let's read more. So I guess origination and cessation, you can use the chart. Wonder if there is the transcendental dependent origination here. Then because it occurred to me, when what exists does birth come to be? By what is birth conditioned? Then because through careful attention there took place in me a breakthrough by wisdom. When there is existence, birth comes to be. Birth has existence as its condition. So existence is called bhava. So bhava, as you learned in the previous section, there is kama bhava, existence in sensual realms, and rupa bhava, existence in material jhana levels, and arupa bhava, existence in immaterial planes. Like Buddha had his former, Buddha-to-be had his former teachers who attained the nothingness level and neither perception nor non-perception, but they could not let go of that state. They thought this is the highest that they could cultivate. So supposedly they are still there. They didn't know any further escape. So that means the arupa states, immaterial states can be very, can last very long, and that is an existence one may condition themselves into and will be there for a long, long period of time. That's why a Buddha appears in the world to say that no, there is further escape. You can let go that too and experience a cessation. And when there is no trace of clinging left, you will not find footing in any form of existence. So sensual realm is where humans, heavenly beings, are born. We are in that sensual realm. We have sensual pleasures. So Venerable Pali and I were chatting today about, it was his idea actually, about joy, how sublime states can be cultivated to these different planes. Can you explain that? It's like this. So, loving kindness can be radiated to humans, right? Yes. And you said compassion to hell realms, and then joy to heavenly realms, but with a trace of compassion, telling that don't indulge too much. And then equanimity to higher realms like Brahma realms. That's also one way to look at, you see. Anyway, let's get back to dependent origination. Then because it occurred to me, so in that kind of language you see that he was analyzing a lot in his mind and realizing it himself. It occurred to me. He looked at it. He did not run away from it. He did not ignore it. He realized it by asking these questions. That's what made him the Buddha. Then because it occurred to me, when what exists does existence comes to be? By what is existence conditioned? Then because through careful attention there took place in me a breakthrough by wisdom. When there is clinging, existence comes to be. Existence has clinging as its condition. Then because it occurred to me, when what exists does clinging comes to be. By what is clinging conditioned? Then because through careful attention there took place in me a breakthrough by wisdom. When there is craving, clinging comes to be. Clinging has craving as its condition. Then because it occurred to me, When what exists does craving come to be? By what is craving conditioned? Then, because through careful attention there took place in me a breakthrough by wisdom. When there is feeling, craving comes to be. Craving has feeling as its condition. Then, because it occurred to me, when what exists does feeling come to be? By what is feeling conditioned? Then, because through careful attention there took place in me a breakthrough by wisdom. When there is contact, feeling comes to be. Feeling has contact as its condition. Then, because it occurred to me, when what exists does contact comes to be? By what is contact conditioned? Then, because through careful attention there took place in me a breakthrough by wisdom. When there are the 6 sense bases, contact comes to be. Contact has the 6 sense base as its condition. Then, because it occurred to me, when what exists do the 6 sense bases comes to be? By what are the 6 sense bases conditioned? Then, because through careful attention there took place in me a breakthrough by wisdom. When there is name and form, the 6 sense bases come to be. The 6 sense bases have name and form as their condition. Then what exists does name and when what exists does name and form come to be? By what is name and form conditioned? When there is consciousness, name and form comes to be. Name and form has consciousness as its condition. When what exists does consciousness come to be? By what is consciousness conditioned? When there are volitional formations, consciousness comes to be. Consciousness has volitional formations as its condition. By what are volitional formations conditioned? When there is ignorance, volitional formations comes to be. Volitional formations have ignorance as their condition. Thus, with ignorance as condition, volitional formations come to be. With volitional formations as condition, consciousness, such is the, so it goes with through all the links of dependent origination and their cessation. So it goes on explaining all the under this section, all these links of dependent origination explained about. Yeah, so I don't think that we have Upanishad Sutta in this collection. But it's all about, this whole set is about dependent origination, their links, and where is Upanishad Sutta? But we can look at the chart because we have it in the hands. Yeah, it's right here. Don't need the sutta. So you see in this chart, under ignorance, you can see on the first page, the root word is ignore. To ignore what? Refers to ignoring the Four Noble Truths and ignoring the impersonal process of dependent origination. And then, so this ignorance, that way has to be clear to you. Ignorance is not knowing. Ignorance is not knowing what? The Four Noble Truths. And the process of dependent origination. So, what are the Four Noble Truths? There is suffering. The cause of suffering. Cessation of suffering. The path leading to the cessation of suffering. So, when you don't know this, all the volitional formations in your mind are rooted in that kind of not knowing. When you have heard the teachings and now that you know, there is a chance that you prevent so many formations, volitional formations rooted in ignorance to flood your mind and take over and control and take you in cycle of birth and death again and again. So there is that knowing of the noble truth that has a liberating effect on your mind. That mere knowing of it helps you to let go of so much that you thought was serving you in terms of existing in the world and dwelling in the world. And when you are learning the truth about the reality, because of the power of that truth and wisdom, you no longer hold that kind of not knowing. That ignorance is called a darkness, because it puts you into a dark place, because that light of wisdom is not present until you hear this for the first time. That is why people offer light to the Buddha out of gratitude for showing the light to the world, and wishing that may my thicket of darkness be dispelled by this light offering I do. So offering candles, oil lamps, when it comes to Buddha's birthday celebrations in Vesak, in May, so much of light offering, so many pandals they create with his previous life stories, showing gratitude to him and teaching people that here he went through all this suffering, and this is one story where he experienced his life as a Brahmin, as an elephant, and this is what happened to him. So try to overcome your suffering through his example. So that's also encouraging people to overcome ignorance. So that chart over there has that cycle. It's like a wheel. So when I met Sister Kema, she had a wheel drawn like that in Sri Lanka, and she also had a place where she drew breaking of the wheel, and now the wheel is like limping and and she was so excited to show it to everybody, but I was the only one that went to listen to her teachings. So that's how I ended up coming here. So you'll see, she introduced me to David and Sister Kema. Venerable Bhante Vimalaransi. They then invited me here to, because I had the interest in learning the suttas in English and going deeper into the suttas with the Brahma Vihara practice, which is not something I had done by then. I had already memorized many, like Satipatthana Sutta I knew by heart, but that wasn't enough for me. I was actually dealing with so much anger also. That led me to my ordination process. I was so angry with my father, and one time, to hurt him, he was into these oils and Ayurvedic stuff. So one day there was this oil that was simmering in the heat of the sun. This oil was so important to him, and so I can't hurt him physically, but I threw that oil on the front wall of the house out of so much anger I felt. And he kept it for 5 years to show to any visitor that came, to show that this is the work of that monk. I was not a monk at the time, but that's the day, that was my time to see that there's so much suffering here. And I remembered that monks were smiling and happy. There must be, that was my calling. to experience that happiness and be free from the kind of suffering I experienced like that. Anger played a big part of it, really. And I'm not ashamed of sharing that openly with people, because that is really a great teacher. And then my father went to read the horoscope, I heard, and whoever read it said that, don't worry, he'll come back in 1 year. But I never did. I never went back. And I met a great teacher who put me through studying. I was studying biology, chemistry, and physics at the time, and he said, you can do that. Now you are on the path of becoming a monk, so I'll put you through Pali, Buddhist philosophy, and that kind of studies. So that's how I ended up continuing my studies and meditating. My teacher is not a meditating monk, but he has so much compassion. He has many students that never leave him because of his compassion. And so I'm grateful that I had the fortunate karma to meet my teacher, and he gave me the freedom to come here when I asked for permission. So it's like that. And at the 5th year, I was in the 2nd year of the university. My father was sick. I went to see him. He was still angry with me. He did not talk to me. And there was this ritual, overnight ritual they organized. So they do a lot of drummings and dancings, because he believed that somebody gave something to him. That's why he had this stomach ache. But now he believes that it was just gastritis. You know how the villagers think, and they suspect the neighbor putting something to their tea or some stuff like that in these cultures. And so much ignorance. But those people did a great thing. They said, we will not perform, we will not start performing until you take 5 precepts from your son and serve him some tea. So thanks to them, my father had to talk to me and take 5 precepts from me. And after that, we bonded again. And I used to write poems to him, and and I sent him, you have suffered enough for us. You should go live in meditation monasteries, not in any temple. I knew places by then. I sent him to those monasteries. And then he developed interest in being ordained. Now he's an ordained Buddhist monk. And so that's how that ended. And he also was okay when my brother asked to be ordained. So my younger brother, is also ordained. So that's briefly how anger. He was also a person with so much anger, but he's not like that anymore. But this shows how we suffer when we don't know that there is a way out, that we don't know that there is this thicket of ignorance that is really fueling our craving and formations, mental formations. And there's so much of that happening in the world every day. People, domestic violence and wanting to threaten somebody, kill somebody, all because of not seeing the links of dependent origination, not using break from ignorance to see the truth. So that's briefly how, in one aspect of my life, that part of my life was really full of suffering because I didn't know any better. And as a 16-year-old, you don't listen to your parents that much sometimes. So that also was part of it. I never meant to go into details of it, but it took me years to process that and understand what was I dealing with, what was going on, and how those actions impacted others. Really, if I died in that state, I will be forever in hell. I also dealt with so much guilt because I hurt my father that way. It's not a good thing. So I use that to teach children now, especially the younger ones who are dealing with issues with parents. I share this openly so they can see the way out and meditate, use loving kindness, not use anger as a response. Anyway, so formations, formations are potentials, seeds. There are three kinds of formations. They are body, speech, mind. Kaya Sankara, Vachi Sankara, and Mano Sankara. It's not explained, it's not given here. So bodily formations generally include in-breath and out-breath. That's bodily formations. You can read in Majjhima Nikaya 43 where this is explained. That's one place that this knowledge is given. And speech formations, verbal formations is thinking and examining thoughts. So that become words and verbal formations. After thinking and examining, you speak. So they are called verbal formations. And then mental formations, mind formations, these are perceptions, feelings, are called mental formations. Consciousness also is part of it. And when I spoke with Katukurunde Jnanananda, K. Jnanananda, he said formations is also part of it. When cessation happens, formations are also ceased. So that is perceptions, feelings, and consciousness. These three, consciousness exists based on perceiving things and feelings. So when there's no more of that, no more perceptions and feelings, consciousness has no footing, so it ceases to exist, at least momentarily, and then you have a lasting peaceful experience which you analyze after emerging from that experience and understand that that was the cessation, and also here is the links of dependent origination, arising phenomena again. You see it, you hear it first, and then you see it there. I mean, after emerging from it and reflecting on these links. So consciousness cognizes, and the suttas said there are these 6 classes of consciousness: eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, and mind consciousness. And mentality and materiality, basically mind and body, mental process of the sense doors, which includes the mental action within contact, feeling, craving, clinging, habitual tendency, birth and aging and death links. The material body of those sense doors in reference to the 4 elements of earth, wind, fire and water. So these 4 elements make the body. And this body and mind union, there is always their dependency. This is called Antojata Bahijata. So Antojata is this link between mentality and materiality. Bahijata, external link, is consciousness. And it says, this is in suttas. It's based on this verse that Buddha Gosa wrote the Visuddhimagga. Antojata, that's a commentary that he wrote. Antojata Bahijata Jatahi Jatita Paja. So he was asking who is going to untangle. So tangled within and tangled outside. Tangled within is mentality and materiality being tangled, and tangled outside is the link to consciousness. So there is always outside tangling. You become conscious of stuff, and so there is always a process of you existing, and it appears that way until you see the links of dependent origination. and you are convinced that this is a process. So this then leads to Salayatana, that is called six. Sa means six, Ayatana means bases. 5 external sense doors: eye, ears, nose, tongue, body, and 1 internal sense door, mind. So external, internal can be also, like according to the Satipatthana Sutta, that is the 4 foundations of mindfulness. It says eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. These are internal sense bases, and what you perceive, like visuals, sounds, what you smell, tastes, body contacts, and the thoughts, these are external. So that's how that sutta explains it. So you can come to different understandings based on different suttas. And contact here has, of course, dependent on the eye, color and form, there is eye consciousness. Meeting of these 3 is eye contact. Nose, etc., ears, nose, etc. has this process. There is a contact with, dependent on these 3 kinds. What 3 kinds? There is the physical eye, there is external visuals, and eye consciousness. Meeting of these 3 is called contact. And you have been hearing this again and again. That's found also in the Honey Bowl Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 18, I think, number 18. So, Vedana, feelings, 3 kinds: pleasant, painful, neither pleasant nor painful. These are like sensations. Craving, as usual, Bhante explains it as, it manifests as tension and tightness in mind and in body. That is, I like it or the I don't like it mind. Like somanassa, domanassa, happy mind, unhappy mind. Clinging, this is the story that runs in our mind about why I like it or I don't like whatever arises. This includes all of the thoughts, opinions, ideas, concepts, and imagination that pops up. So Bhante exactly spoke these words in that Joshua Tree talk he gave. Like these are his words. So that's what he realized through his practice. And habitual tendencies, a personal library of habitual reactions. Each person has a personal library of their most used reactions to situations. Yeah, most used ones. That's true. Jati, birth. This is the birth of action. 3 kinds of action: mental, verbal, bodily, physical action. Usually also the kind of birth in different planes of existences. And death, aging, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. What happens after birth through death includes old age, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. So you go to the next page. When you have faith, once you have experienced suffering, you look for a way out. You try something and have faith that it could work. Pamojja, gladness. Now you have found the Dhamma and find it is working and it makes you happy to study and meditate. You experience your first relief from the hindrances. That's why all of you are like walking like candles, radiating light. And I say that when you come to that interview room, that light is you, walking lights. And with that also the reward is joy. Joy arises from finding the path. Passaddhi, tranquility. Tranquility arises as a result of bhavana, meditation practice, and following sila, precepts, and dana, generosity, giving up and letting go. Sukha, that is the cat. Sukha also is called happiness. True contentment arises, not false temporary contentment. This is lasting happiness. Samadhi, collectedness, all jhana states developed. So samadhi includes first, second, third and fourth jhanas, and then samapattis, the 1 to 4 attainments, infinite space, infinite consciousness, nothingness, neither perception nor non-perception. And yatha bhuta jnana darsana is knowledge and vision of things as they are. So when you see that this is it, this is how things arise, this is how things go to cessation, you yataha bhuta, as things are arisen, you see it and you don't add a person into it. That's a false view. You see it as a process. You don't take them personally. It's not mere reciting of it. It is seeing it and then realizing that, I saw that there was no person in here. If there was a person, then Christine will be able to say that, no, I don't want pain today. I want to be free from it. But that's not the case. That's like Sister Kema going to the doctor, contemplating, this is not my pain, this is not my body. But then as soon as the doctor pulled her leg, she was like, this is my leg. So she realized that, oh my goodness, none of this is in my control. You don't have any control over these things. You can't say, oh, I want my mother to live forever. I want my father to live forever. You can say that to yourself, but it's not going to work that way. That's how you have the knowledge and vision, and so that when things break, when things are gone, you have a relief. That too is gone now. This too shall pass. Equanimity arises to all phenomena. That's how equanimity gets established. Where equanimity and wisdom are very closely connected. Nibbida, that is disenchantment, one has had enough constant arising and passing away of phenomena become laborious and just too much to bear anymore. Because you are in a very subtle state of mind and you just don't want this anymore. I mean, it's not aversion. You are like, this is so much sensory impingement continuously, and you want the wholesome, you set the wholesome intention to experience cessation, and you create conditions so that the fruit will fall when it's ripe. So there's this passion, viraga, but phenomena keep rolling on you. Understand there is nothing to be done except just let go and observe. Sounds familiar, right? Vimutti, liberation, cessation of phenomena and nibbana. And asavakka, destruction of the taints. Greed, hatred and delusion are destroyed. Lobha, dosa, moha. That's why I tell some of you to look where there is any trace of clinging left and destroy it if you have the intention to get out of here. I mean the sansara. When I say here, that's sansara. Thus, monks, ignorance is the supporting condition for formations. Shall we all read it together? Thus, monks, ignorance is the supporting condition for formations. Formations are the supporting condition for consciousness. Consciousness is the supporting condition for mentality, materiality. Mentality, materiality is the supporting condition for the sixfold sense base. The sixfold sense base is the supporting condition for contact. Contact is the supporting condition for feeling. Feeling is the supporting condition for craving. Craving is the supporting condition for clinging. Clinging is the supporting condition for habitual tendencies. Habitual tendencies is the supporting condition for birth. Birth is a supporting condition for suffering. Suffering is a supporting condition for faith. Faith is the supporting condition for gladness. Gladness is the supporting condition for joy. Joy is the supporting condition for tranquility. Tranquility is the supporting condition for happiness. Happiness is the supporting condition for collectedness. Collectedness is the supporting condition for the knowledge and vision of things as they really are. The knowledge and vision of things as they really are is the supporting condition for disenchantment. Disenchantment is the supporting condition for dispassion. Dispassion is the supporting condition for liberation. Liberation is the supporting condition for the knowledge of the destruction of the cankers. Just as monks, when rain descends heavily upon some mountain top, the water flows down along with the slope and fills the clefts, gullies and creeks. These being filled, fill up the pools. These being filled, fill up the ponds. These being filled, fill up the streams. These being filled, fill up the rivers. And the rivers being filled, fill up the great ocean. That is from a sutta called Nutriments, Ahara Sutta. So that simile is found in there, showing that some of you now need to cultivate this disenchantment, knowledge and vision, dispassion, liberation, destruction of the taints. And others will see the links of dependent origination in their best capacity and be working on your objects of meditations. Okay, let's share merits. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, Devas and Nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.